Hello, this is Darren.
And this is Paige.
And this is
Where's the Lemonade?
Where we talk about what happens when life throws you lemons.
Make some lemonade?
Maybe. Some weeks it's lemon squares.
Yeah, some weeks it's just lemons.
Yeah. On today's episode,
we are going to discuss bonding with older stepchildren. So we had a lot of requests that we do a show on how to bond with older stepchildren.
Yeah, you were reading in some of the blended family groups, right, on Facebook and things like that, and you saw that was a big topic, and then some people actually asked us on our podcast if we could bring up this topic.
They did, and so we thought, what better way to discuss this topic than to ask our older children. And luckily for us, we had the opportunity to be together with some of our older children because Dallin graduated from college this week. So we're here and we've got several of them around us. And so we took the time to ask them questions.
Now, before we ask them questions, we wrote down some of the things that we thought that we've done to help us bond with our stepchildren better.
Yes.
And it was interesting because our list and their list, some things were similar. And we had some interesting things that our kids told us that we didn't even know about.
We did. I was actually surprised. I hadn't heard some of the things that the kids had said. And it really created some really good conversations. And I think that actually created more bonding just talking about this episode.
Yeah. So some of the things that we thought that we did in bonding with our older stepchildren was to make sure that we were physically and mentally there for them when they needed help.
Yes, that's really important that you're there, but you're not overstepping your bounds in physically or mentally as a step parent, but they know that you're there.
Right. That's really important. Another thing that we learned was time helps solve. Just relax and let some time pass. That seems to help with the bonding, but consistently reaching out is extremely important.
It does. And I like what you just said about time. Sometimes you think that, wow, this is really bad right now. This is, how's this ever going to change? How's this ever going to get better? If you could fast forward a year, it's amazing if you just can kind of relax and be consistent and keep trying. It does change. It does.
It does.
Situations can change and get better.
Now, some other things that we saw was just to be around them. You don't have to plan out everything all the time when you're going visiting. Sometimes you may just sit and watch a movie together.
And, that was hard for me in the beginning because I wanted to be the fun step parent. And I wanted, every single weekend that we had the kids, I wanted to go do something fun.
Well, and especially when the older kids were visiting from going to school or work, you filled every moment of every day full of something.
Yes. And the kids have all said they do appreciate that. And they do appreciate when we go do fun activities as a family. Because when we're together as a family, we are together as a family. Like people are in their rooms. We are really together, hanging out with each other, doing things. And the kids do enjoy that, but it's also okay to sit and watch a movie and just chill.
Yeah. And we found that the kids really enjoyed that because they get to know you more as who you are. And that was another thing with relax is make sure that you are who you are instead of putting on this facade. They'll see right through it.
Yes. Do not try and compete with their parent. Like if you're the stepmom, don't try and compete with bio mom. Just don't go there. You do you. I think I've mentioned this in other podcasts. You do you. Let her do her.
In fact, we have a whole podcast just about that.
Yep.
Because it's such a big topic.
It is. Be you. Don't try and do some, be someone else.
Now, another thing that we thought was really important, we had the podcast on traditions, but another thing that we found was making sure that the traditions, when those older kids come back, that you have some of those traditions that were just done with that family, right? And that the step parent can now be part of that.
Right. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't think that, well, this is something that the Lloyds did. So Darren, you can't come be part of that. actually, I think, a wonderful thing to add you to that experience. And as you'll hear, I think in Rachel's, when we talk to Rachel, she brings this up.
Yep, she sure does. And we found that that's been very beneficial to all of our older kids kind of bonding. Another thing that we saw that was interesting that our kids did themselves was they bonded together outside of us. And you'll hear about that. And I think some of the reasons that happen is because we've given them opportunities to do that by doing things together. But it was mostly because of two of our kids that reached out to each other and said, we are siblings. We're not step siblings, which was really cool.
Well, and something that Dallin said is that the kids have to want it. You can't force that. And if you're in a situation where the older kids don't want it, that is where you have to give it time. Give it time, keep trying, don't give up, but you can't force it.
And that's a really fine place to be, right?
It is.
Because if you give up, that means, well, I'm not going to force, I'm just going to walk away. But that isn't that consistency that those kids need. They need to see you reaching out in love and kindness towards them. And we do have a couple kids that weren't as easy to bring along.
Oh, no, not at all.
But over time, it's gotten much better. And,
yes.
And they're feeling more apart, and they know what their relationship is with their step-parent or lack thereof or whatever it is.
They see that we're making efforts to blend the family and to love everyone and bring everyone together. And I think they appreciate those efforts. Even when they didn't want to be part of it, I still think that they saw that we were trying.
Yes, and I think that's a key aspect.
And don't forget, the most important thing on how to bond with older children, bribery.
Yes. Oh, it does work. It does work.
We took a trip to Hawaii with all the kids. We took our older kids. We've taken all of our older kids on a trip, so, and you know what? Yes, it is bribing, but it's also bonding.
It is. When I think of some of the trips that we took, like with Dallin, when we took Dallin, I was on a work trip in Barcelona. Dallin ended up coming with us because he went to this incredible country called Andorra, which is right next to Barcelona. And there was some real bonding because he saw Paige and our relationship up close and personal.
Right. Yeah, no, I think all these trips that we've taken with the kids, whether it be one of them or a couple of them at a time, there's been a lot of bonding on those trips. And I think, even though we joke that it's bribery, it's really not bribery. It's just wanting to make some memories with each other in some really fun settings.
Sometimes one-on-one.
Yep.
Instead of all of the kids. So these were the older kids, and this has been really, really important.
Yep.
Okay, so another thing I want us to just talk about briefly, and then we're going to hear from the kids individually. This is something that we kind of wrote down after talking to a couple of the kids. Why was it so hard for them to accept a new adult or a new parent in their lives?
Oh, gosh, there's so many reasons. But one is they are not wanting to see their family unit change. And
yes, we heard that from Matthew.
Yeah, even though it is changing, but they are just really resistant to it, which I don't blame them one bit. Their whole life is being turned upside down. So that's really hard.
And especially when they come back home, they want to come back home to roots, something that they can have some stability around.
Right.
And that's hard because now everything's changed.
Right.
So there is some resistance there. So we have to recognize that. And that's different from the kids that are in the house with you that were going through this change because you spend time with them all the time. They're experiencing it all the time.
Yeah.
When your kids are away, your older kids, and they come back home, you have to give them that chance to catch up.
Right, right. Another reason is why it's so hard. You'll hear this, I think, from Rachel later. They may not know the true motives of why you are marrying. Like I said, when you hear Rachel, she'll tell you that she wasn't sure that we were getting married for the right reasons.
Yeah, she felt that I was coming in to save you from, what was going on in your life at that time. And she really thought it was going to last a year or two.
Yeah. Yeah. So, they're not sure how long maybe this new person's going to be around, and why bother to form a bond with them if this isn't going to be something that's going to last.
Another thing that popped up talking to some of the kids was it might be the first time that they've seen their parent being intimate with somebody else.
Yes. And that actually is one of the reasons that you had a blow up with one of the kids, one of the older kids. We kissed in front of them, and it was really hard for them to see that.
It was. And
the kids that are at home, they got used to it a lot quicker because they saw us. We're very affectionate with each other, and they saw it all the time. But the kids that are away and they come home, they're like, oh boy, they're kissing. And it was hard. It was hard for them.
It was, and it still is for some that we don't see as often.
Yeah,
we see that.
It is.
So you have to be mindful of that, and just remember that they're lagging behind on this integration than the kids that are with you all the time, because they're just not there. Which brings up, some of the things that we said is you need some time with these older siblings or older children, I should say.
Yeah. Another thing that makes it hard, I mean, like I said, we could actually go on and on and on about what makes it hard, but that we thought in our situation is that they might feel that you're replacing their parent.
Yeah, and this can be really hard.
Yep. Yeah, it really can. And you have to make it clear to them that you're not trying to replace. You're just trying to add to. You're trying to add something to the family. You're not trying to replace their parent at all.
Right. And that you have to know where your boundaries are.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard finding those boundaries. And, the first year is really hard trying to figure those things out.
And the boundaries do change over time.
They do. And I often say, let the kids kind of guide that. The older kids, let them guide you into, what they want you included in and what they don't.
All right, we have Amanda, our oldest, with us, and we had some questions to ask her.
Hi.
We do. She's so cute.
You're already breaking the rules. Your hands are both on the table.
We had strict instructions for Amanda.
Yes, we did.
Your hand is basically on your chin, and your hands are on the table.
Because we're pros at this now.
Yes, we are. Yeah, we have 10 episodes already. That makes us pros.
Yeah.
Double digits.
That's
yes,
right.
That's right. No one's paid for anything yet, but
we're hoping to get there.
Wait. Let me tell you about Blue Apron.
Disarming.
Yeah, we're hoping to get there soon.
Yeah. Blue Apron, the number one. Or how about Squarespace?
Yes, that's a big one, isn't it?
What were you worried about when your mom and I got married and bonding with me?
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like my experience might be a little bit more unique than anybody else's, because when my parents when they even were getting separated, they had to call me and tell me on the phone because
you were already out of the house.
I was already out of the house. I was living in Utah at the time. And so I think every other kid was living at home and at least in these families, right? Like your oldest was at home too.
Yeah.
At least when they got separated. So for me, I felt pretty okay with it. I wasn't really around as much as everybody else. So it was an easier adjustment just because I had the space to deal with it.
Well, to deal with the divorce and all that.
Exactly, to deal with the divorce. And with once, they told me that you guys were together. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's good.
But yeah, so once, I think her first date was when I was still at home for a summer.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
I think I met Darren first, technically, of all your kids.
Yeah.
But I didn't, it was inconsequential. It was their first time meeting as well, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Pretty close, yeah.
So, and then when they told us they were getting married, I was only excited for what was happening for my mom because I knew she'd been having such a hard time. So I was just happy that she was going to get to be with somebody who's going to take care of her and, take care of the rest of my siblings as well, take care of our family, which was something that was really important to me.
Well, good. So
what about bonding with me? What kind of relationship did you want to have with me? Because it's very different. You're out of the house. You're,
Yeah, so
So what were your expectations?
I guess I had pretty low expectations.
Way to go. Hey. I hit the bar really high.
That's right. Well, you don't know that yet. She hasn't finished answering.
No, she hasn't. Sorry.
I had low expectations because
You're already gone.
I was already gone and I didn't know. I'd never, come into a family that was new. The first time I met the rest of the family was on the wedding day. So it was going to be a really hard, interesting experience for me. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I was worried that it just wasn't going to work. We weren't going to mesh. We weren't going to fit in.
Well, Amanda, we talked about this before in one of our episodes. You went over and grabbed Madeline, our youngest.
Darren's crying.
We're all going to cry this episode.
Our youngest daughter, and you grabbed her and just held her and loved her right away. And I think that was a pivotal point for our family in blending, because you reached out and you showed the rest of the kids that it was going to be okay. And that that's a big deal for your mom and I.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. It was special.
Honestly, I feel like this, I don't know how much this relates, but my mom knows this. I'm sure Darren knows this. I was always told basically that I'd probably never be able to have kids of my own. And now we're all crying. So I've always just believed in the concept of a found family, of making the people in your life, the people you care about, your actual family. So blood doesn't stop me, ever.
And we appreciate that. That's been a big deal for us.
No, you've been a great example. Great example to all the other kids.
So I'm glad the bar was set low. And now you got us all crying. Thank you, Amanda.
I want to get it right off the bat so that you just don't have to worry about it again, even though it's going to happen again. But
So what sorts of things did your mom and I do to help you kind of bond with me? Because I think we have a pretty good relationship.
yeah. Oof. I don't know.
What sorts of things
have you
do you
done?
think helped with that? Because it can't just be me.
Yeah,
My mom
yeah.
has to facilitate a lot of this as well.
Yeah. I think honestly, just anytime we were together, it was all about being together as a family and doing activities together as a family, building memories, taking lots of photos, making lots of dinners together, always just bonding. Everything we did was basically together, creating new traditions. And yeah, I think that's always been what has made it easy and made it worth it, because we're just spending time together. And that quality time is really important because, you get to build those memories, establish relationships. Because if you're just sitting around watching TV, which we do a lot too sometimes, and as they know, I always talk during it too.
Yes. Yeah.
True story.
Especially if she's seen it before.
I'll hit bets are off if I see the movie before. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just about building time, taking trips. They come out here and they visit all the time, and they let me live with them for a few months. So that was nice.
Yep. I think that was a good experience too. So,
Yeah.
All right. So what could we have done differently, maybe? What would you like to see us do more of to help even create stronger bonds for us as your stepdad, or as your, I don't know, blended parents? What's the right word?
How much time do we have?
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. How many trips can we take?
Yeah. There we go.
yeah, we've joked about this. We are not what's the word, below
Buying affection.
buying affection.
Yes, we do buy.
Yes. So, 2 years ago, we took Amanda and Rachel and Julianne, our 3 oldest daughters, to Europe. So I think that helped her bond to Darren.
Basically, Paige took the girls and I was the chauffeur and the travel guide. Is what
Yeah, it
happened.
was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Holy cow, though. You should see Darren drive in France. It was crazy. He did such a good job. I always think he's a crazy
Did I
driver.
get a ticket in France that
Not
time?
that time.
Not that time.
No.
So I did good.
I did joke the first time they asked me about this. They said, what did we do good? And I said, bribery.
Bribery, yes. And you said bribery and abuse.
We're not going to say that, so
We're
you want to
still
get
working.
arrested.
Got to figure out the abuse part still. We haven't quite got that down right.
No, yeah, I still think, I don't know, some things that you could have done better, honestly. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty bad about calling, and maybe you're pretty bad about it too, Mom.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk to each other more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So I need to buy an Echo Show for your house.
Exactly. I mean,
That means I can drop in any time, though. Are you okay with this, Amanda?
are you okay with
Yeah,
this?
probably not. All right, we have Rachel, who's our second child,
Yep.
and
Second
Paige's second.
one. Yep. And she's the favorite right now because she's given us 2 grandbabies. It's true.
Favorite.
That's Amanda in the background. She's supposed to be quiet right now.
So let's talk first off. What did you have any concerns when your mom and I first got married?
Definitely, I had concerns.
You were still at home, kind of.
No.
So I was away at college when they got divorced. My parents got divorced. And then I came home for the summer, and that was when she started dating Darren. And so I kind of got to see them dating, but it was a little unusual because I was home, but not really home. And it was odd being home because I hadn't been around my mom really when she was single. And so it was kind of a shock to come home. And I was expecting to have this summer with my mom. And then, she was gone all the time dating, which makes sense. But it was surprising. It was surprising.
Yeah. So, but what about after we got married? I mean, all that stuff. Let's go back before we got married, the first time that we met.
The first time we met?
Yeah. I remember it.
It was at your house.
No,
No?
it was at your house, and you just got back from a date with Russell.
I don't think that was the
That wasn't
first
the
time.
first time?
That wasn't
first
the
time
first
was
time.
it was at your house, and we came over for like a barbecue.
I thought the first time was when he came over and we had pizza. But
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, maybe we'll edit this out.
I know.
Okay, this will be
Yes,
edited out.
totally.
So let's go back to
Okay.
This is just riveting.
riveting. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go back to when all the kids all met, and we all met together at the park.
That was a disaster.
It really was a disaster.
It was a disaster.
I didn't want to be there in the first place. I had my own boyfriend at the time that I wanted to be spending time with. So I didn't really want to be at the park to begin with. It felt very forced that we were being forced together. And as I thought about what I kind of wish would have been different in the whole experience was maybe being introduced to your kids, Darren's kids, individually and not in this big group setting where it felt like, okay, here's you guys, we want you to be best friends, go. If we could have had a little bit more time and a little more gradual.
Okay, that's good.
That's a good suggestion, because I even said that about meeting Darren's family, that it's intimidating to all of a sudden be like, here's your new family, go. And it's like, whoa, it's
Well,
overwhelming.
and that day was a disaster anyway. We locked the keys in the car,
Yes.
right? And so we had to figure that out. Rachel was worried about getting the house clean before her boyfriend came over.
Yes, because he was coming into town.
So then there was stress there. It was kind of a day of stress.
It was. It was.
But it's a day we all remember because
Yep.
Jacob, our other son, had something to say about this too. All right, so Rachel, what did you have any concerns when your mom and I got married? Concerns about your mom and I when we got married. And then a follow-up question would be, how did you feel your relationship with me was going to be?
Yeah, it was really hard when she first started dating you, and then when you guys got engaged, everything happened really, really quickly. And so it was hard to believe that you guys were in love, to put it super honest. It was really hard to think that you guys were actually in love and not just getting into the marriage because you needed each other. for whatever reasons, financial, emotional support, whatever. I was really concerned about that. I was happy for my mom because I knew it was going to be good for her to be with you, Darren. But it was hard for me to feel like I could develop a relationship with this new stepdad because I didn't know how long he was going to be around. I didn't know that you guys loved each other truly and that it was going to last like it has.
Well, it's true because look, we talked about this earlier today that I needed rescuing, and Darren was my, knight in shining armor coming to rescue me, and it did happen all really, really fast. So yeah, I can see why you would have those concerns for sure.
All right, so what changed? Because I think we have a pretty good relationship now.
Oh, definitely. Time. Definitely time. And every time I'm visiting or you guys are visiting me, Darren always makes an effort to talk to me individually and ask me how work is going, how life is going, and just focusing on developing a relationship with me. And I'm able to see that you guys really do love each other. And I don't have that worry anymore like I did when you guys were first together.
So the apprehension was mostly around you didn't want to form any kind of relationship with someone that might not be there.
Exactly. I was always a really big daddy's girl growing up, and I didn't want to...
You didn't want me to be replacing your dad.
Yes, but I also... my relationship with my dad is extremely different than what it was when I was a child and was a daddy's girl, and I didn't want a repeat of developing a really strong relationship with someone and that being... disappearing.
Yeah.
And just because we want to make sure that we are, not being all Pollyanna, because we want to be, we talked earlier about you and Darren had kind of a little, it was not easy in the beginning. Yeah. And you guys, probably 3 or 4 months after we got married, Rachel was home visiting and there was kind of a blow up, and I was so mad at Darren for not keeping things calm. And anyway, we talked about how it's because, so many things, but you didn't feel at home in this new home.
No, not at all. It wasn't the home that I had, that I had been a part of. It wasn't even in the same city that we had lived in before. And so here I was visiting from college, and it's not like I had an old bedroom in the house or furniture around that was our furniture. So it felt, I was a visitor.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of our other kids feels the same way now, and that's my oldest. He doesn't feel at home in our house because it is new, and he hasn't gotten over that yet. That's right. Still very difficult for him.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and he's not there a whole lot.
No, he's not.
So, but it's hard. It's an adjustment for everyone. But so you think that what we've done to help you bond with Darren and help us become a strong blended family is what?
What's the one thing that we did that you think helped do that?
Not giving up. It was really hard at first, and I had that blow up in the beginning with Darren, and you guys didn't stop. You didn't just say, oh, well, Rachel doesn't really want to be a part of this, so we'll just let her go do her own thing, and she can just be married and have her own kids and have her own family. You didn't stop. We kept trying, and we kept working together.
Yeah. Well, and just, Rachel and Dallin, my second oldest, so it's the two second children, they really bonded pretty close. Dallin was going up to college where Rachel lives, and I think that they kind of showed that relationship, how a brother and sister, you guys don't even call each other step siblings.
No, he's just my brother.
Yeah. And that really helps too. Paige is laughing again. I can't talk to my kids without crying.
Yes, we need Kleenex for this episode for sure.
So is there anything, Rachel, you think that we could have done differently? You mentioned one thing, like maybe introducing the kids one at a time instead of, when you got 10 kids and they're all thrown together, it's kind of a mess.
Yeah, here you go, bond with each other.
Yeah. So what else besides that do you think we could have done to make the transition easier?
For the most part, you guys did a really good job of, making the time and trying to create memories with us. Really, the only thing that I can think of would just be the gradual introduction to the family instead of just a big event where the one family's meeting the other family.
Gotcha. Now, how did you feel about one of the traditions that your family had was a place called Lincoln Chinese?
It's a good place.
It is an awesome place.
The best Kung Pao chicken I've ever had, right? And sesame chicken, great stuff there. You guys should pay us for doing this advertisement for you. But that was your family thing.
Oh, yeah. That was our place.
Yep.
So how did you feel the first time that you guys went and I went with you?
I was totally good with it. I liked that we weren't, even though we didn't live in that town anymore, that we were still going back and visiting. And even now, when I go back to visit you guys, we pretty much always make a trip.
We always have to go to Lincoln Chinese.
Yeah. We make the drive to Lincoln, which is about 30, 40 minutes. And we go to that restaurant. And I like that it's, we're not forgetting about this place that we really like. And it's kind of just been adapted into our family.
Yeah. In fact, my kids now.
Oh, they love it.
They love it. And they even take their stepdad and their mom.
Yes. It's now one of their favorite places.
It's one of their favorite places. So
it's a good place.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing it in. Okay. Now we're going to talk to Dallin. Dallin is my second and our fourth.
Really? Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
I can't do the math. Anyway,
You're number 4.
Am I?
Yep, you're number 4.
Yes,
whatever you
I
are.
am.
Dallin just graduated from BYU.
He's the tallest.
He's the tallest.
Yes.
So in the pictures, he's the tall,
He's
handsome
the tall,
one.
handsome one.
So, and he just graduated from BYU. So if any of you are listening, he needs a job in computer animation. So there you go.
And he'll accept donations.
Yes.
Yes, generous donations, please. Definitely generous.
We'll put his address up on the blog.
Or a Venmo account. We'll just give him your Venmo account.
Venmo works.
So we want to talk, Dallin. We've talked to your other siblings about what it was like to actually bond with a stepmom, a whole new concept, and what it was like when we first started blending the family together.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's not. I think most everyone has said so far is it's not easy just to go into to have all these new people here and trying to connect with them, but it's ultimately ended up really well. And
do you remember the first time we all met?
Yes, I do remember the first time we all met. Well, I met Paige.
Oh, at the bank.
At the bank.
That's right. When I was a banker, you came and opened an account or something.
Yeah, and I was impressed. I was honestly impressed the first time I met Paige because she was very talkative. It wasn't awkward. She made me feel comfortable, which she's always done a good job with.
Well, good.
No crying.
Well, no crying. Not yet.
Not yet. You're not allowed to cry yet. But no, Paige has always done a good job, making me feel comfortable. So I know my dad kind of went to the bathroom and it was just us sitting there and we talked for a bit, which was nice.
Yeah. What do you feel like was the hardest thing for you as blending a family?
When it started, my biggest fear was that no one else would want to blend.
Oh, that's interesting.
You wanted to blend, didn't you?
I did. I wanted to blend. I wanted like new brothers and sisters.
So did Amanda. Amanda was the same way. Amanda's like, great, new siblings, right? Like,
Were you tired of your old siblings, Dallin?
Not exactly.
but it's just like, I think you and Amanda have that personality of the more the merrier. Like, let's bring them in.
Yeah, exactly. And it was definitely it was a fear of mine that we wouldn't blend because they wanted to be close with whoever I was going to be, step siblings with.
Did you have any hesitation at all at wanting that?
No, no hesitation with wanting it. I didn't feel like it would replace my siblings or anything like that. It would just be added on to it. But
Do you feel like it was hard because you and my son Jake, who's my third, you guys are only, what, 10 days apart?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks,
2 weeks apart.
exactly.
And totally different personalities. I mean,
Complete opposites.
So we were worried about that. Your dad and I were worried about, wow, we're putting these two boys together. And were you concerned about that?
Oh yes, that was another fear I had, is that there would be someone that it would just be awkward or constantly just different, I guess. And it was awkward.
It was.
Yeah, we
going to
tried everything we
school
could
and-
to force you two together.
Yeah,
That didn't work.
Yeah,
some
don't do
awkward
that.
car drives.
Yes.
Let's just say that. But no, it was awkward and it was hard. But it just took time. And I think with the fact that Rachel, Amanda, and some of us, we all wanted to become close, eventually everyone else who didn't kind of followed. And we've had Jake and I have had a lot of great conversations since.
In fact, I think you guys would consider each other friends.
Yes, I would consider Jake a friend.
So one of the things that we started our podcast with is that you can't force these things, and things take time. That's exactly what you just said. You have to be patient and let you guys work it out. I mean, we can facilitate getting you guys together, right? We had a lot of family gatherings, but you can't force two people to be friends. You just can't do it.
No, it has to be a concerted effort on both ends.
But we did create the opportunity for them to at least be around each other.
Yes.
And that kind of led to some of this. But you guys really didn't become friends until you were both out of the house and up here.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't until after I went on my mission and just talked, and it was on the car. I think we connected really well on the car ride down to a family reunion. It was like a 3-hour car drive.
Yep. All right. So what do you think is something that we did well? What's something that positive
Well,
that we did?
I mean, obviously, you guys tried to love us. You did a good job making it where you were able to keep the boundaries of, step and not replacing the other parent, but you also did not waver on showing your love towards us. Like with you, Paige, you've done a good job just showing constant love, like the best aunt you could ever have type of thing.
Right.
Without, replacing the role of my mom.
Right. Would
Which has
never
been
want to
great.
do that. Yeah.
Aunt Eileen's going to feel bad about this.
Yeah, sorry, Darlene. Yes. You're my official favorite. aunt. Sorry, everyone else.
All right. What's something that you feel like we could have done better? Do you feel like there's something that you're just like, man, you guys messed that up, or?
You know what? You guys did a great job. And there was obviously times when we didn't want to spend time with each other.
Yeah.
There were definitely those times, especially with Jake and I going to drive to events together when I think both wanted to drive alone or.
And we're like, that's silly. Just drive together. And then, behind your back, we're going, they're going to bond. This is going to be so great.
Yes,
And then we're just like, this is going to be so awkward. But kind of sometimes pushing things doesn't help. But at the same time, you kind of have to push things for things to actually happen. But no, I think that you guys did a good job because we're all really close. It's worked. It's been bumpy, but it's worked.
Well, I attribute the closeness of the family really to you and Rachel. There was some point, I don't know exactly when, maybe it was before your mission or right after your mission, where you and Rachel stopped calling each other step siblings and you were just siblings. And everyone else jumped on.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I wanted that. I wanted a relationship, but they weren't step siblings. They were just siblings. And I don't call them step siblings anymore.
No, none of them. In fact, today we were blessing Zoe, our grandbaby, and we had the family there. Now, your two youngest siblings are with their mom right now, and she so graciously let them come to the blessing. And Rachel was like, we're not taking family pictures until they get here. I mean, they are her siblings. They are part of the family, and it just wouldn't have been right. Don't start crying.
Well, yeah, you bring up a good point there. Like, one thing I've learned is that at first I thought there would be moments when it's, just the Lloyd kids and then just the Pulsifer kids.
Right.
And that it's fine to have those moments, but we've really never kind of done that unless it's happened naturally.
Right.
it's never been like, okay, now we're going to separate and this is how it's going to be. And
Right.
I've liked that.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird at first, but I've liked that.
Well, and I think you've said this many times. You know many blended families. I know many blended families. And I don't know of another family that has had the success with the kids bonding the way that we have.
Same. Yeah. I've never met anyone do what we
Well, and that's not just us.
No, and in fact, you said this earlier. You said you have to want it.
You do.
The kids have to want it.
You can't force it.
No.
You both have to want it. And that can be rare, but it's possible.
Right.
Now let's talk about your relationship with Paige, because this is really about bonding with your step parent.
Yeah. I guess, you know what? I skip over that because Dallin, I feel like I've bonded with Dallin since almost day one.
Yep.
And I mean,
So what was it about Paige that made it easy to bond with her?
She's fun. Like, sorry, Dad.
Why do you have
I'm
to say
the
I'm
fun
sorry?
one out of the
I'm not fun,
relationship.
Dallin?
Paige brought life back into, like, I was really depressed at the time, and she brought life back into, like, my life in a lot of ways. Things were fun.
I remember the first time, like, I think there was, it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas. I go all out for decorating, and you could not have been more excited.
I love holidays. I love little traditions, decorating. And yeah, I was very excited about that. She actually, Paige, you actually made the house look good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dad.
Again. I was just waiting with the house to have a blank canvas
Yes.
Sure.
for my new wife.
But no, I feel like I have such, Dal and I have talked about this. We have such a good relationship. If Darren died tomorrow, there would be no, he's still my son. Like, it wouldn't be like, oh, I wonder if I'll ever see Dallin again. He's my son.
Oh, in every way.
You have made it easy, and not all the kids have made it easy. That's for sure. But you have always made it easy for me. And I have appreciated that. You've always been open to me and open to my love and my caring. And I have always appreciated that.
And one thing I learned too is that there's things I can go to you about that I don't feel I can go to my dad about sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's, vice versa too.
Right.
But
Well, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's in any relationship. Now you have 4 different people to choose.
yes, like there have been cases where I have to go to each, like my stepdad and my mom, dad.
You've got 4 different people to be like, who do I want to discuss this with?
It's
You
great.
realize all 4 of us talk.
Oh yeah, I know. But it's easier to go to certain people about
Yes,
certain things.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we are now with Jake. Jake is my 3rd son. I don't know where he
Our
fits in.
5th.
5th. You're the 5th. You're number 5. We just give the kids numbers. And so Jake is probably the most hesitant to do this. All the others were happy to talk about this.
I'm so happy to be here. Long time listener, first time on the podcast.
He's our biggest jokester too. by
Yes. Our most charming. So Jake, you probably, out of all of our kids, I think this is fair to say, you probably had the hardest time with the blending of the families. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think that is a fair assessment.
Okay. Why was that?
I think, I don't know. I've actually talked to people about this recently, and I think it was just my own personal setbacks at the time, in addition to the age I was at. And
How old were you?
So I was 16, right?
16 when we got married, right?
Yeah. So 16, I definitely went from where it was just me, you, and Sam, thinking that I did what I wanted when I wanted and was like an adult and was beyond. And then I was telling someone recently, I think a lot of my issues and why I was so like resentful or resistant to the change was I felt like I was had been this independent adult, beyond my years. And then realizing that I felt like I didn't actually have control over at least the control I thought I had in my life. And then I just kind of resented the whole thing because my life wasn't what I thought it was. I wasn't that. I felt, out of control, I guess.
Well, and I was talking to somebody recently about this, and I think that the blending was the hardest on you because You were 16, so already we've got a 16-year-old. You were dealing with a lot with issues with your dad. And then we moved to a new town. So we moved you into someone else's house with their kids. You know what I mean? Like everything changed for you. Everything. And I can't imagine how difficult that must have been for you.
Yeah, I definitely felt like, I felt out of place. And I felt like Sam was so young that it didn't things didn't really register. He was just going along with the flow. I mean, he was 6? I guess he was 6.
Yeah, 5
5 years old.
Yeah.
So he was just along for the ride. I don't think he probably even remembers that time really. Yep. And then it was like you were in and you were devoted to, Darren's kids and the whole new thing. And I just felt like I just immediately, and you guys know this, I just immediately wanted to just be gone because I was like, put in this time and a year or two from now, I'll just be gone anyways. And I felt, I just immediately wanted to disconnect from the situation rather than put any effort in.
Well, it did motivate you to graduate early so you could go to college early, right?
He did. He went to college when he was 17 because he wanted out of the house so bad.
Yeah, evidently going to college just to get out of the house is not the best. Because you end up failing every class, but I did get out of the house.
You did. Now, we talked to Dallin a few minutes ago about how it was challenging also for you and Dallin. You're only 2 weeks apart and your personalities couldn't be more different. And how hard that was we wanted you two to be best friends and be buddies. And
because you were a lot more social than Dallin was.
Yeah.
A lot more. And Dallin could have really used some help with the social side. We thought, we'll just put these two kids together. Oh, well, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was telling someone recently because me and Dallin and Amanda, kind of the three of us, have our own friendship going on, with Justin and have kind of this friendship we've established. And I was telling someone, I thought all that time, and this would maybe even surprise Dallin, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but I immediately, it might even be true, I really didn't think Dallin liked me or wanted anything to do with me.
And I think he felt that about you.
Yeah. Dallin really wanted another brother.
Yeah. He did. So I think you both just thought each other.
Yeah, just kind of projected. But we definitely lived very different. And that school that we went to was so cliquey and I don't even know what the word for it would be, but it's very much. So when I went there and established friendships with other cliques and just then it wasn't the greatest environment for inclusion and I think that magnified our differences, what the difference in friends that we had. And
I never saw you two ever be mean to each other, or you were just like two ships passing in the night.
Yeah,
but I mean, you guys were always nice to each other.
Yeah, there wasn't like tension really.
No,
I don't think, but
and now you guys are friends.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Okay, so now hard question. You had issues with Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were your issues with Darren?
So
this is good therapy.
A lot of it, I think, is attributed to like being 16 years old.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, with things that were going on with my dad. I mean, around that time, he was getting in trouble with the law and stuff, and we didn't, I would just, I don't know. I definitely felt the need to just rebel against anything that was any kind of control and any kind of, and along the lines of what Rachel said, then I was unsure of your motives. And I would, even back then, as closed-minded as I was, or as unable I was to put myself in other people's shoes, the egocentrism that I was involved in, I would say to people, I think my mom is not like, she's marrying this guy for money, not for her, because she's lived most of her life without having a bunch of money.
Right.
But she thinks it's the best thing for Sam. But I think she's misguided or whatever.
That's interesting. I can see how you would think that. But that's interesting. I did marry Darren for his pool. There's no doubt about that.
And I got you for the dog, which didn't last very long.
But yeah, so when do you, I mean, I feel like you and Darren are on good terms now.
No, yeah.
When do you feel like, when did that change for you? That you weren't trying to just resist his advances as anything in your life. When do you feel like that changed for you?
That is a good question. I don't think I started to really analyze our relationship as well, or our relationship at the family, until really, I mean, in North Dakota, I think, I even then, I don't think our communication was very good.
Mm-mm.
Not that it's that great now, but
Yeah.
certainly to a different degree. But my time in Denver, I definitely felt very alone. Even once I got more ingrained, not so much, but when I was first there, and I did kind of analyze the faults and what led to the disconnect, especially between you and me.
Right.
Because I felt like those years there was definitely a disconnect, probably from the time I was like 15, I would say,
Yeah.
where I kind of just wouldn't communicate anything.
Right.
And then you were definitely just very emotional. And
Right.
I was the opposite. We were on opposite ends of the spectrum, and there was no
Right.
middle ground.
Right.
I haven't seen Jake express emotions ever. So you're our most calm, cool, collected kid for sure.
Yes. So I think that space, specifically the time in Denver, where I just kind of analyzed, but I don't know if it was like a time together that something clicked. It
It's
was
just over
gradual.
time, right? Gradual.
Yeah. And I actually did a delivery to people that were moving in and blending families. And the guy, they had teenagers on both sides. And I was telling him, I was like, there's nothing, like, there's no advice. Like, because I was telling him my situation, I was like, they might like you, they might not, they might resist you, whatever. And like, the best thing, like, Darren never wrote me off. He just was there. He waited and just said, he's going to be there. He's going to keep loving you. He's not going to go anywhere.
No.
I was telling him, eventually they'll come around, they'll mature, and they'll feel bad about it.
Well, and do you feel like now, sorry, sweetie, do you feel like now, like Dallin was saying, and Rachel was saying, and Amanda, I guess all of them, they wanted this. Actually, Amanda and Dallin were the ones from day one, they wanted this blended family. They were excited about adding new siblings. And I don't think you weren't excited about that. Do you feel like now you have embraced that this is your new family, or do you still resent it somewhat?
No. Yeah, I definitely never thought like, oh, this is going to be fun. I saw that in Amanda, and she was excited. And, but yeah, it did at some point, again, probably like in time away and the little things that you guys have the kids do, like when they write letters to me for my birthday or something.
Right.
It starts to just like you can't hold up your defenses for so long and be this jaded person as you get older. And
So we beat him down.
yeah.
We just slowly beat you down. right, Jake?
Relentlessly.
Yeah. And it's like, who would I be if like Maddie comes in the door? I don't think of her as like family.
Right.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I know it's an interesting concept because like in that communications class I have, they try and define what a family is, and there's not really one definition of it.
Right.
They talk about there's like, I think Native American tribes that actually have a second family that they choose. They choose a second family, and they have a ritual where they become family. And so it's almost interesting because it's almost like an arranged marriage.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that statistically, arranged marriages are not as happy the first 3 years or something, but then 10 years down the road, statistically, they're for whatever reason, they're happier at that point. So it's almost like for the kids, it is almost kind of this arranged marriage.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. I've never thought to look at it that way.
And I think you can only be jaded and
Right.
yeah.
So what is something that
For
you
so
feel
long.
like we did right? I know you could probably go on for hours about the things you think we did wrong. But what do you think we did right?
I think mostly looking back on that, I think of like mostly my shortcomings. I don't think you guys I mean, certainly everything was very fast. Maybe that would be
Right.
things went
Yeah.
very fast.
Right.
But then other than that, I mostly think of my shortcomings. But I would just say the consistency. Like I said with Darren, he wasn't gonna. I mean, I don't remember maybe a couple times we even had any kind of argument or anything.
No, yeah.
But
Oh, there were times I wanted to argue with you,
Yeah.
Jake. But your mom and I agreed early on with the older kids. We had to set boundaries on what we could do and say. And because I mean, you're right. You were already 16, very independent, watching your mom go through a lot of things. And so you were kind of the man of the house. And all of a sudden you were replaced in your mom's life that way.
Yeah.
So, we did a lot of, just guiding the best way that we could. So,
Yeah. But yeah, I think, like I say, the consistency as far as something you guys did right, of just like, there was no question of like, even where they say like, oh, this is probably just a temporary thing, but you guys would never let that like enter the home of like, there's any question of what this is or what it will be. And yeah, you guys were definitely active on like doing things together, quality time, and especially if at the time I probably didn't want to be doing any of those things, but
You know what? We would invite you and we would encourage you to come, and we hoped you would come, and sometimes you did and sometimes you didn't. And we
yeah, I
just
think
had
I probably didn't more than
and we just had to let that go. That was hard. I wanted to force you to come. I wanted you to be part. I felt like I was leaving you behind, and I just wanted you to be part of this so bad, and it was so hurtful, and
but we kept inviting.
we did. So yeah, just so we didn't do the wrong thing by keep inviting. You think that was the right thing to do?
No, and I think it goes back to the lack of where we had that distance in communication
Right.
for those years. And I think, like, say a conversation like this had taken place then, it might have
It
been,
might have been really bad, huh?
yeah, it would have been volatile probably.
Right.
But I might have known where you were coming. You might have known how I felt, where we were thinking of the same thing. I was saying, like, you've got this new thing going on and everyone's happy. And I wanted to be left behind or removed from it.
Right.
And you thought he's only doing that because he feels like he doesn't belong.
Right.
And maybe you wouldn't have been satisfied to say, okay, that's what he wants, but at least it would have been put out there.
Right.
And
I don't think I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So I don't know.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to think that, you were having a hard time and eventually he'll come around, which you did. And
So don't give up hope is what you're saying.
don't give up hope. Don't give up hope.
And I think maybe on a less positive note, or maybe not great advice, but distance for us was healing. Distance was healing. So that's not ideal,
Right.
but
No, but it may be.
but it can.
Yeah.
Because you're not the only one that's had a hard time. Matthew has had a really hard time, and distance for Matthew has been really good.
Right. So
Right.
I think that can heal sometimes.
Yeah. So,
So
great advice, Jake.
great advice.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
Darren's third child, right?
Yep.
He is on a mission for our church, and so we couldn't interview him directly, but we asked him what he thought about our blending our family and some of his thoughts about how we did and things that we could change. And so he sent us back an email. So I'm going to read some of that email. He said that the first impression that he had of me was we all met at a park. Do you remember that, babe?
I do remember that, yeah.
And we did this silly obstacle course on the play equipment. And he thought the kids were just going to do it. And I jumped in and did the obstacle course with them. And he thought that was really cool. He goes, I couldn't believe that you participated in that. So he said, that was when I thought, wow, this lady seems pretty cool. Well, guess what? That's what I was trying to help the kids. That's what I wanted them to think that night, the first time they met me.
Now, this was the same night that Rachel described earlier.
Yes, that was kind of a disaster of a night, but this was the one good part of the night.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else did he say? He said that he knew that it took a lot of effort to put on a first good impression. So it's okay, I think, to
Well, Well, you always want to put on your first best impression.
You do, and I think it's okay for them to know that you're trying really hard. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Just don't be phony.
don't be phony, but it's okay to know that you're, that if they know that you're trying really hard. He said that he felt that I made a big effort to get to know the kids. He said we did a lot of fun things right off the bat, which helped a lot with the idea that I would be coming into their family. He remembers when we all went to Sunsplash together, and he just says it was those efforts that started those memories that really made it easy to like me. So, and then he said one thing that he felt was really important was transparency. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
He said that he warmed up to me right away because he felt like I was an open book, which made it easier to trust me. So I thought that was really interesting. So try and be, I guess, transparent and open and honest. And especially if you want that back, right?
Absolutely.
He said that he thinks the best part is that once that relationship is created, it can be really a great blessing. I'm reading this from his email. He says, while I'm not his parent, I'm like a trusted counselor. And he says, like a really great aunt or uncle that you can really count on. And then he tells a story about how he was talking to me once about getting all insecure and unconfident about girls and saying that he wasn't sure if one girl liked him, and it made him kind of down, and he was kind of whining. And I guess I told him, I don't even remember this, but I guess I told him, Jacob, girls don't find that attractive to be whiny and down, and you just got to be confident. And he said that was the kind of advice that was hard for his parents to give, but something that he needed to hear. So he said, I'd say that step parents, when they're the right ones, are a blessing. And then he says, you have loved us since the beginning, and we have all felt that love. And I think that is what has made all the difference between you and all those evil stepmoms. Very sweet, Jacob. But even though I try my hardest sometimes to be the evil stepmother, we always joke about that.
We do, but I think it's absolutely true. The kids do feel, the older kids feel that love that you give them when they're there, but they also see how you treat their younger siblings.
Yes, they do. They do.
And if you're showing love and compassion and you're kind, that shows an awful lot for them.
Yeah. So thank you, Jacob, for sending us that email.
The last of our older children was Julianne. She's the youngest, and she was only 13 when we got married. Currently, she's serving a mission for our church in New York, speaking Haitian Creole. So we couldn't really talk to her on the podcast, but she did send us an email when we asked her the question about bonding with her stepmom. This is what she had to say. To be honest, I'm having a hard time remembering. I felt like I was young when you got married, but something I loved is how respectful you were as a stepmom. You never tried to replace my mom, but you still took the role of a mom because I needed that. As incredible as my dad is, as a dad, we needed a woman in the house. The best thing that built my relationship with you, Paige, is having fun with you and making traditions with you. When you took time out of your day to go eat or do nails or to watch TV or go shopping with me, you not only became my stepmom, but my best friend. You always befriended my friend, which meant the world to me. I honestly can't thank you enough for all that you have taught me. I can't speak of the other older kids because I was on the border of old. But for me, it was a wonderful process. I say process because it was a process. It takes time to build relationships and patience to achieve normalcy. I think patience is the key to success in a family, and that is something that integrated our family so well. Thank you, Julianne, for that. And I agree with Julianne. It's the time, the patience, and the consistent love that you show your kids. On the funny moment this week, it has to do with our grandkids, kind of.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we are here in Utah visiting kids because of newborn babies and graduations. And I went to the mall with Jake and Sam. We went to visit Amanda, who was working there. And we had the 2 grandkids with us. And we went to get back in the car. And the car seat was one of those ones that locked into the stroller. And so we were trying to get the car seat to be unlocked from the stroller. We could not figure it out. The 3 of us, Jake, Sam, and myself, could not figure out how to unlatch this car seat and put it in the car. I mean,
So finally, Jake just ripped it out.
yeah, he was like, I'm just going to muscle it out. I mean, it was probably 10 minutes. Then it doesn't even end there. We were so embarrassed, thinking if anyone's watching us, this is so embarrassing. Then we could not figure out how to fold the stroller up.
Yeah, so when they came home, I was home working, and when you guys came home, they said the stroller's in the back of the car, still completely unfolded.
Yeah, we had to just put the luckily we rented a large SUV, and we just put the stroller in the car completely set up and just shoved it in there.
It doesn't even stop there. I take the stroller out and I'm trying to fold it up, and I try for like 5 minutes until finally Rachel, who is the mother of these grandchildren, she comes up and goes, "Oh, it's just right here," and just lifts it right up. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
these newfangled things, honey.
I guess you have to be a mom, a current mom.
I was going to say,
I mean, you are a mom, but I mean, a mom of babies to understand how to do these things, or a PhD in, I don't know, origami.
They're different than when we had strollers.
I'm feeling so old.
I was looking for the little handle that you just squeeze, or good grief. If you like today's episode,
Give us 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, Google.
And head to Facebook and like us.
And check out our blog at where'sthelemonade.org.
Where you can leave questions and comments.
But most of all,
go out and make some lemonade.
You betcha, baby.
On our next episode,
we are going to talk about compromising.
When to hold them,
when to fold them,
and when to walk away.